Welcome into this edition of the Volling Out Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan, here with my co-host, Swanee. And joining us tonight is Jordan Moore. How you fellas doing tonight?
Doing great. How you doing?
Oh, man, I'm good. How about you, Swanee? How you doing, man?
Great. It's always a treat to get to talk to Jordan. I heard Russell Smith call you J-Mo, and I've been calling you J-Mo ever since.
Yeah. Which is funny, like, back in high school, like people used to say that when I was playing basketball back then, and like nobody has said it in like almost 15 years, and he said it the other day, and it was like, whoa, it's like almost like a throwback type thing.
Nice. Boys, tonight we're going to talk about how the Vols did in the draft. We're going to talk some Basevols, and we're going to talk about the basketball and spring portal news. So for football. So you guys ready to get started?
Yep.
How about this though? Before we get into anything else, Candace Parker retired this week. That's wild.
Yeah. I've always been a big fan of Candace Parker. I've told this story plenty of times to people that always ask me, why do I follow, Lady Vol basketball? Why do I care so much? And, I have an aunt who she doesn't have any kids or anything. And I was basically her kid growing up, and she had season tickets to Lady Vol basketball from the 90s all the way up until Pat retired. So she would always take me as her extra to the game. So I remember going, when Candace was at UT, and watching the Lady Vols play. I was actually there, I want to say 2008, which was the last time Pat played UConn before she canceled the series. It was number 1 versus number 2 in Thompson-Boling Arena. It was Diana Taurasi versus Candace Parker. I remember how good she was in college. And, she was kind of a unicorn in the women's game. She was ahead of her time. For her to be the height and size she was and having the guard skills that she did she was unguardable. She was just incredible. She had an incredible career. And I'm sure you guys probably agree, she has the chance to be just as good as a broadcaster. I love her on those post-game NBA shows and post-game men's college basketball tournament games. Like, she knows basketball. And she's very, very eloquent in the way she, explains things. And I think that if she chooses to go into that as a full-time career after basketball, that she's going to be highly successful in doing that.
Yeah, I like listening to her talk some ball after the NBA games and stuff. It's fun. She knows her stuff, and she was a phenomenal player when she was here. I liked watching her dunk those couple 3 times she did it. That was pretty impressive. That's one reason why I can't watch the women's game, though. There's not many dunks. I'm just not going to lie about it. But they play hard. They go out there and they hustle. That's all. It means something to somebody. You know what I mean? So, well, boys, let's jump into this NFL draft here for the Vols. First one off the board was Jalen Wright to the Dolphins. I think that was a really good fit for him.
Yeah, fantastic fit. The way they run the ball and how we talked about it the other night, Jordan, the 3-headed backfield or whatever, having multiple options in the backfield. The Dolphins live for that, and they execute really well, at least for September and October.
Till it gets cold. And they got to go to Kansas City, places like that. But, man, I mean, how much speed is in that backfield for Miami now? Like, I mean, you've got A-Chain, you've got Jalen Wright. Who's the other one? What's his name? Mostert. Yeah, I mean, you've got Mostert has Olympic speed whenever he's running. A-Chain does. Like, it's crazy, man. Crazy.
Yeah, I think Miami was a good spot for Jalen Wright. I think we mentioned a bunch of places for him the other day, and that never came up, but it should have.
Right. I don't think any of us really thought of it. So that was a good one, though. I think that's about as good a fit as you could get for him. You agree? What do you think, Jordan?
Yeah, I think it's a great fit for him there with the Miami Dolphins. I was hoping my Cowboys would take him in like the 3rd round because we're needing a running back. I mean, the freaking signed 50-year-old Ezekiel Elliott back. Like that's going to work. But yeah, I was really hoping the Cowboys would try to take him, early in the draft. He's really kind of the punch and speed that they need. They lost Tony Pollard. He's kind of the speed guy, and Wright is kind of the same build, same way. Right. So I really thought that there was a chance that, this entire time the Cowboys may take him, in the third round. And they didn't take a running back at all in the draft, which I don't understand that either. But, if he was going to go anywhere else, Miami, as you guys were talking about, is a very good fit in that offense with the weapons that they have and the way that they use everybody's speed at the skill positions. I think it's a great fit for Jalen Wright. I think he's going to have a really good NFL career, a solid running back in the NFL for a very long time. Because, one thing with running backs and stuff, you always hear about, the amount of carries that they get and the wear and tear on their body. I don't think a lot of people know this, but he didn't have a senior year of high school because of COVID. So, he didn't have any carries on his body as a senior in high school. His junior year, he didn't have that many carries in high school either. And then when you look at his career at Tennessee, I mean, he didn't have that many carries. Even this year as a feature back rushing over 1,000 yards, he didn't have that many carries either. There was a lot of games where he had 8 carries or 9 carries. So there's not a lot of wear and tear on that body, and he should be good to go for a handful of years.
Well, he kind of puts me in the mind of Tony Pollard, honestly. I mean, so that would have been a good replacement for him, I think. I'm excited to see what he can do down there in Miami, though. Next up in the pecking order, though, Swanee, your favorite player, Joe Milton III to the Pats. They went from underthrow Jones to overthrow Joe.
I've pretty much said all I needed to say about Joe Milton on the last recording, so I'll just leave that where it's at. I don't understand taking 2 quarterbacks in a draft. That doesn't make any sense to me, unless they've got plans for him outside of the traditional quarterback role, which could be likely. Wildcat, something like that.
Well, they were talking about at one point, and of course Joe shot this down, but moving him to tight end. He could move to tight end. I don't know. He'd make a good tight end, though, I think.
Let's put on some weight, but yeah.
Right. But, who knows what could happen? Who knows what could happen? I mean, I don't even know who the quarterback is in New England now. Who is it?
Well, they drafted Drake May with a 3rd pick.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So Joe's going to back him up. The next one, though, to me, this is the steal of the draft as far as Vols go. Kamal Hadden to the Chiefs real late. I mean, man, if he's anywhere near where he was before he got hurt, that's a steal. Legitimately, that's a steal, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he would have went higher if he hadn't got hurt this past season and missed, the back half of the year. He was having an incredible season. Graded out as one of the best cornerbacks in college football last year. A lot of Tennessee fans were not very fond of him, but I think he played, down the stretch this past season. He played very well and kind of put some of that stuff behind him. Very, very good cornerback. And like I said, if he hadn't got hurt and missed basically the back half of the season, I think there's a chance that he probably goes. Yeah, there's a chance that he goes higher than what he does. So I agree with you. I think that was a steal.
Yeah.
And what about the Chiefs getting the late round steals from us? This is the second time now because they took Trey Smith, who plays a big role in their offense. They're making it really hard to root against them.
Yeah,
I could still root against them. I'm just gonna hope they do well. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, Trey Smith, Kamal Hadden, they're getting these guys that have the talent, and everybody knows they have. It's almost like taking candy from a baby at this point. It's like if he's good and he gets hurt and he goes to Tennessee, Kansas City's going to take him. So I liked that pick though. That was a good pick because I mean, Kamal, like Jordan said, he graded out, as one of the best cornerbacks in college football last year. So I'll be curious to see how he does out there. I think he'll do well because that front seven's good too. So we'll see how he does. But now we had about 9 guys though sign as undrafted free agents. We had Gabe Judy-Lally and Jabari Small both go to the Titans. Kind of surprised Jabari Small didn't get drafted. Late, at least. Maybe not.
I don't know. If Jordan Moore might have a little more on that than I do, but I don't.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think the combination of his small stature and he, had consistent shoulder injuries in his time in college. I think the combination of those two probably prevented him from being drafted. He's a solid running back. I just don't know if, once again, going back to the wear and tear thing with running backs, he was kind of consistently hurt at Tennessee, consistently dinged up at Tennessee. So I would say probably his medicals probably got flagged a little bit going through the pre-draft process.
Sure, I could see that. Then you got
it's a good
McCallan
situation
Castle.
for him to be in.
Yeah,
a lot of carries, a lot of yards just went to Baltimore.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
And the new head coach comes from Cincinnati, where they've been using Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine. Where it's good, off the running backs are going to look similar to that. Tony Pollard, Spears, and Jabari Small. He could carve out a small role. Ha.
Sure. Yeah. I could see that.
That was bad, guys. I'm sorry.
Donuts. Next up, we got McCallan Castle to the Eagles. Then this one too kind of surprised me. I figured somebody would take him late because of his size, but I mean he brick-handed a lot last year. Ramel Keaton. That was one I thought maybe somebody take like last round or something. I didn't think he'd go undrafted, but maybe he just didn't. I don't know.
Where'd he end up?
The Raiders. The Raiders. So
I think with McCallan Castles, I think that if he had an extra year in the Tennessee system, because at the back half of the season he started playing a lot better. I think it took him about a half the season to kind of get into the flow of our offense and to understand his role. I think if he would have had an extra year in our system, he would have gotten drafted. And if Ramel Keaton didn't have the dropsies this season and would have just caught the ball the 10 times they hit him straight in the hands, he probably would have got drafted too.
That's true. And the thing about him though, man, was like he made the simple ones look just impossible. Like could not catch him. If he was in triple coverage though, he's pulling it in. Like no doubt.
And it's so weird because the season before he made acrobatic, ridiculous catches.
Yes.
And then he comes in this season, and all the easy ones that hit him square in the hands, he drops. It was just, it was weird how the year over year. Yeah, yeah. And then don't forget, he's also the one in the Alabama game that caught that first ball to get us to the 50. He's the one that caught that, and he got drilled when he caught it.
It's that blows my mind though, how he could just 5-10 yard slant. Nah, I'm not catching that. Triple coverage, 30-40 yards downfield. By God, he's pulling it in. Jacob Warren, he's joining Joe Milton in New England. He goes to the Patriots. I think that was a solid get right there off the undrafted list. He was pretty good last year. I liked him. D. Williams to the Seahawks. That was one. It doesn't surprise me that he didn't get drafted, but it wouldn't have surprised me if he did. He was good.
Up until go ahead, Jordan.
I was just going to say, I was kind of surprised, to be honest, that he got picked up by somebody because he's not really shown anything outside of being a punt returner. But maybe there's a chance now this could be a factor too. They changed the kickoff rules this coming this season, doing kind of what the XFL did, to where you basically have to return the ball now. So now that makes kick returners more valuable. So maybe the Seahawks saw what he did as a punt returner and a kick returner at Tennessee, and now they're kind of putting some value into having a good kick returner on their team. That's probably why they picked him up.
That's true. I enjoyed watching him get the ball on punt returns last year, so I hope he does well. Obviously, we hope all these guys do well. Next up, Jalen, don't come up in my apartment, McCullough to the Rams. I'm not surprised with that one. I mean, he'd been in trouble a couple of times here, right? We know of one.
Well, if Sean McVay likes you, then that's usually a good sign.
Right.
He has an eye for talent like that.
That's true.
So maybe it'll work out for him there.
I hope it does. I just hope nobody runs up in his apartment out there, Then we got Aaron Beasley to the Seahawks as well. I think he'll do well. He's good. They like Tennessee linebackers in Seattle. Darrell Taylor, I like that.
He kind of reminds me of Jalen Reeves-Maben a little bit. I think he can have like a career like what Maben has had with the Detroit Lions.
I could see that. He's got the speed. He's not a big guy. He's got speed, but he's big enough to play that position. Sort of a tweener, I guess. And then let's see here. We got Jeremiah Crawford to the Panthers. He gets to protect Bryce Young. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go. I don't think Carolina's a mess right now. So
they're going to be bad again this year.
That's fine with me. They got an Alabama quarterback. That's fine with me. They can be bad. They can be awful. Terrible. But
they will be. Don't worry.
Don't disappoint me now. But you know, overall, I think it's cool to see. You know, we only had 3 guys get drafted this year, but I mean, I think it's cool to see we're starting to see more guys go into the league. So I like it. I think it says a lot about how far we've came. So, you know, let's just keep plugging away at it. I think we'll have quite a few come that go in this year, though. So, because this team's loaded, I feel like, especially on offense. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. Maybe I'm not.
No, I agree with you. You're about to see an uptick of guys being drafted. The talent is finally there, and you're stacking talent on talent now. And you also have the system that can showcase and put up the stats. I definitely think that you're about to see an uptick in the amount of Tennessee players going in the NFL draft.
I think especially at the wide receiver and tight end spot. I think that's where we're about to see it really shoot up there. So we'll see though. Football ain't far off, boys. Thank God. We've only got a little over 3 months. Well, a little over 4. Yeah, a little over 3 months, almost 4 to the day. I'll take it. Beats having 5 months, you know. All right. So you guys want to talk some basketball portal news?
Sounds good.
Before we jumped on here, we talked about Tobe Awaka. He was leaving, then he was coming back, then he left, went to Arizona. I think he might have come out on the better end of that one, don't you guys?
I think it's a solid landing spot for him. He's going to go to a team that kind of features a post player. You know, they had that Ballo kid last year. So I think it's a good landing spot for him to be featured. Tobe's problem is can he even stay on the court, or is he going to pick up 5 fouls in 5 minutes? So he's got the potential, and you know he's going to get a starter role now, very likely there at Arizona. So if he can stay out of foul trouble, he shows the potential and the ability to be a good post player. My biggest question mark would be in today's basketball, you know, as me and, you know, Swaney have talked about in the past, in today's basketball with them spreading the floor out, is he tall enough and big enough to play the 5 position? Because you can't play him at the 4. With the way teams spread you out, he can't defend another team's 4 in a spread it out situation. And is he tall enough to play the 5 position? Because he's like 6'7" maybe. So that's going to be something interesting to watch during his time at Arizona.
Yeah, what I like about Tobe is he likes to get in there and beat and bang. That's what I like. But he's got, like you said, man, he's got to learn to not foul. I mean, in that Purdue game, he had 3 fouls in like 5 minutes. It's like, dude, you're not doing us any good. You're not doing any good on the bench. Learn how to play some defense. Adu to Arkansas. Also heard he got paid, buddy. He doubled his NIL money, is what I heard. $1.3 million.
So. Yeah. Swaney, you want to take that one?
Good for him, I guess. They've got, you know, a lot of excitement out there in where's it at? Fayetteville, Arkansas, with Calipari, and now they're paying soft post players $1.3 million.
He's not worth $1.3 million. So good luck in Arkansas. I would take Felix Okpara for probably half of what Jonas Adu is getting paid.
Right.
You talked me into him last Thursday, I think, on the drive. I was like, okay, I'm in with this guy.
He's anything you think Adu is. And I agree with you, Swaney, soft. Akpar is the complete opposite of that. So it's going to be interesting to watch him play this season.
Yeah, they said he's kind of got the style of Awaka. Not that great offensively, but a little bit better than him defensively. So I'm looking forward to having that kid on the team next year. We've got DJ Jefferson, though. Didn't seen maybe 10 minutes all year this year. Heading to Longwood. Good for him. Maybe he'll get to play out there. This was the one everybody was like, oh, man, we're getting him. I can't wait till he comes. And then he don't come. Cade Tyson, North Carolina. I think anybody that knew better knew he wasn't going to come. with what we
Yeah, yeah. Tennessee, from the very beginning when the portal season opened, he jumped in. Tennessee made him a priority. They tried to go all in on him. They offered him a big NIL bag. They, buttered him up, gave him, they did everything they could on their end. He's from North Carolina. So that was going to, a North Carolina kid playing at North Carolina, that was going to kind of be hard to pass up. But Tennessee tried, didn't come out. And I think, it would have been nice to have K Tyson, but I think Tennessee came out pretty well either way.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about it a little bit before we got on the show, though. Milich, he's a Vol. That was a good get. I feel like a solid get. So, I like that one. So with him and Akapar, man, that could be a good, 1-2 punch in that post down there. Because whenever Tennessee played two bigs last year, it seemed like it done well. So that could be a good deal right there for us. Everybody's
along with the development of Estrella.
Yes, that's the kid I'm excited.
Should be pretty solid down low.
Yeah, that's the kid I'm excited to see this year because he played.
Hey, real quick, I step away for just 1 sec. I'll be right back.
Go ahead. The big name everybody's talking about right now, though, is Chaz Lanier. Supposedly, he's all but a done deal.
Yeah, that one's going to that one. I would say Tennessee is a leader. The favorite, odds-on favorite to land that one. That's been a lot of discussion. I was talking to some Kentucky fans today that think they're going to get him. I promise you, he's not going to Kentucky. I'll tell you that much. And I can't believe Kentucky fans today just blowing my Twitter up, thinking that they're actually going to get him. That was cute on their part, but but yeah. I'll say this with the Chaz Lanier situation. When you look at next year's roster, there's a clear hole at the 2-guard spot. I think we would all agree on that one, right? Yeah. And the portal's been open for a month and a half now, somewhere around that time frame. Have any of you guys or anybody else heard anything about Tennessee targeting another 2-guard that can score the basketball?
Absolutely not.
Nope. So sometimes 2 + 2 = 4, right?
Right. Well, and he also entered with a do not contact tag,
which means he knows
he's done been contacted and he knows.
Yes. So, from where things stand, I would say Tennessee has a really good shot at landing him, and I would give it a couple of weeks. Everybody just be patient on your end. He wants to go through the NBA draft process, meaning he wants to go through the combine. He wants to get the feedback. He wants to get the grade on what he needs to improve on. Dalton Connect didn't commit until May 22nd of last season or last spring. It's May 1st today. Be patient. You're going to hear a lot of smoke. Yeah, there's already been smoke out there that Maryland, he could go to Maryland. His former AAU teammate, Jacoby Gillespie, transferred there from Belmont. He's at Maryland now. Maryland has Under Armour. They're backing. I've been told that the Under Armour is trying to offer Chaz Lanier a big bag to go and team up with his AAU teammate. You never say never in the new transfer NIL world. Never say never. So I would just say right now, as things sit on May 1st, Tennessee's the clear-cut leader. Tennessee's leading in this thing. Let's let it play out, and let's just be patient and see what happens.
Good luck with that, because we all know how Vol Nation is.
Yep.
The next one up, that kid from Central Arkansas, is it Tular Anderson?
Tucker Anderson.
I'm right. I'm looking at my handwriting here. Sorry. Tucker Anderson. He's expected to be the final piece, it sounds like, that we're looking to get. So I don't know much about the kid, though.
So, real quick, so Tucker is not going to happen. He came in for a visit this past weekend, an unofficial visit. He came out of the weekend, and on Monday he committed to Utah State. So he's going to go to Utah State. Right before we came on, it was announced, and I mentioned this earlier today on Twitter, Ben Hammond, a 3-star point guard out of high school, will be on an official visit on Monday. He was formerly committed to Rhode Island. He played on the number 1 ranked high school basketball team in the entire country out of Virginia. He played with multiple 5-star players on his team. The reason that he's not highly ranked or highly rated is because he's like 5'10" and weighs like 170. If that sounds familiar, Zakai Ziegler wasn't highly rated because he's like 5'6", 160. So similar profiles. I even put up I wouldn't call it a scouting report. It was from a camp last summer that he played in, a snippet from that camp. I put it up on Twitter earlier. And the breakdown of him sounds exactly like Zakai Ziegler. Like the breakdown of how this kid plays and the things that he does. It sounds like they're literally talking about Zakai. Tennessee's looking for a point guard. They want to find a point guard to bring in to give some minutes to that way they don't have to play Zakai 38, 39, 40 minutes a game, which I think definitely needs to happen. Yeah. So that's the name to watch kind of going forward is Ben Hammond. They went after a kid named Christian Anderson Jr., who's also a point guard that was formerly committed to Michigan. They had some talks with him. Doesn't sound like that's going to happen. They also talked to a kid named Gabriel Maybor. He's a post player, a 7-foot post player out of North Carolina, a high school recruit. I'd heard they brought him in for the orange and white game, but I'm not quite sure he was on campus. And then this past weekend, there was some talk that they were going to bring him in that never materialized. So right now, I would say Chaz Lanier and Ben Hammond are the two names to watch to take 2 scholarships kind of going forward.
That was my next question as far as the basketball portal goes. Who do we need to watch? But, either way, man, the Rev is doing work in the portal this year.
So I want to get Swaney's take on the basketball team, the basketball season a little bit, and what he thinks in the portal, because him and I talked last summer on your guys' podcast. I think it was Up at Noon, I think, your previous podcast. And I was trying to talk him into Rick Barnes and his previous basketball team. I don't know if you remember that, Swaney. And you're like, yep. I have to believe it. I have to believe it to see it. He's like, I hope you're right. Yeah. I have to believe it to see it. Well, we were pretty good. We made the Elite Eight. Dalton Connect was the truth. So right now, go ahead.
Pleasantly surprised with the team this year. Obviously, I think we all were. We hung around in that top 8 all year. We finished where we said we needed to for it to be a success, and it was a lot of fun to watch while it was happening. And after it ended, Easter Sunday, there was a lot of doom and gloom. At least I felt like we were, we're losing everybody. Rick's going to retire. It's not looking good for us, but it seems like he's just reloading. Seems like he's putting together the team that he wants to coach.
Yeah. I'm going to chime in right there for just 1 second and say I agree with that for sure, but go ahead.
I'll just add a couple of things on this transfer portal. I could talk about this for days because I love following this stuff and keeping up with it. A couple of things. We were talking about Milicic a few minutes ago. I've kind of been told from a few people that let's assume and let's say that we do add Chaz Lanier. Just project this out to the future a little bit. I've been told that the staff thinks that Milicic will be the second best player out of the portal that they get. I don't know if you guys watched any of his tape or seen anything on him yet, but he's 6'10", 225 pounds. And a lot of people will hear that and think, oh, another Eurosplavich. Furthest thing from a Eurosplavich. This guy's 6'10", 225 and moves and plays like a guard and has handles, can shoot the ball at a very high clip. He's we were talking about before we came on, he's from Croatia. Grew up playing European basketball. He's played for the Polish national team. He's your typical European basketball player that you see come from overseas. A little finesse, a little bit, and highly, highly skilled. Like I said, shoots the 3 very well to be a 6'10" guy. I'm very, very intrigued by him and what he can do for this roster next season. And just looking at the guys they're bringing in real quick, like you're talking about, Swaney talked about, oh no, Rick's going to retire. I mean, I kind of felt that way too. When a lot of these guys went in, Adu went in, Awaka went in. There was some talk Meshack would go in. I'm sitting there thinking, oh, Rick's going to hang it up because he doesn't want to deal with this BS, right? He doesn't want to deal with having to do all this stuff. It kind of feels and seems like it's almost re-energized him a little bit. Like it's almost like he's having fun doing this. He loves to coach. And he loves people. And, I kind of been told a little bit from some people that know him, and they've kind of not asked Rick, but kind of asked themselves, just knowing who he is. If he retires, what's he going to do? all he knows is coaching and all he knows is people, right? So, I think this has kind of re-energized him because, I was talking to somebody about this the other night. If you have like a lot of the same guys coming back, right? Like, yeah, you got to coach them, but what do you have to teach them? If they've been in your program 3 or 4 years, like what do you have to teach them, right? Now he gets to go into the gym every single day with almost a brand new roster, and he gets to coach. He gets to teach. It's like a new challenge almost every single day waking up. And to me, that's kind of re-energized him. And the good thing about what Tennessee has gotten done in the portal is when you kind of look around at the college basketball landscape, and I don't know, all the other programs and the relationships they have with players they're bringing in or not. I don't know that. But to me, it kind of feels like a lot of these schools look at kind of best player available and let's go attack that. And what Tennessee's done, you see Rick in all of his interviews and everything that he talks about. He talks about the culture at Tennessee and how they've built this culture and they want to stick to that culture and how it's a brotherhood. Look at the guys we're bringing in, and it's already guys that you already had relationships with. You already know them. You're not bringing them in and you're having to get to know them. You already knew them. The Darnstone Dubar kid played for Bobby Mays' AAU team and played with Jaden Springer's AAU team, right? So you already have a built-in relationship there. You already know him. You've already had a relationship. You look at Felix Okpara, the kid from Ohio State that Swaney was talking about a little bit. You recruited him out of high school. He's from Chattanooga. He went to Link Academy for a year where Julian Phillips played, where Cameron Carr played. Rod Clark has the relationship with Link Academy, which is why we're able to recruit out of there so well. You already knew him because you recruited him out of high school. You already have a relationship there. You look at the Chaz Lanier situation, if you were able to land him. He's a Nashville kid. So you recruited him out of high school. He went to Innsworth. You already have a relationship there. He knows the Bone Brothers. The Bone Brothers have been helping Tennessee recruit him right now in the portal. They've had conversations. So you have that built-in relationship. And then the Igor Milicic kid, the positive thing about that is his dad is a nationally renowned European basketball coach, has won multiple championships over in Europe as a basketball coach, professional basketball coach. He's actually the head coach of the Polish national team. And he's been talking to Rick Barnes for weeks about his son coming to play at Tennessee. So Milicic as a coach's son is going to come in and be about the right things and do the right things and be a harder worker and understand the game of basketball. So not only are you bringing in good basketball players, but you're bringing in high character kids that you already know, and you don't have to worry about any kind of chemistry issues or any kind of thing going on that's going to hamper the locker room or anything like that, which is very, very encouraging.
Yeah, that seems to be a pretty common theme across, the major sports at Tennessee too. Heupel does the same thing. So I like it. I'm with you. I think this will be a fun class. And speaking of Milic, I looked at his numbers, man. He gets like 9.7 rebounds a game. He's not a slouch, So that'll be good. That's going to be a good addition.
One that's a good point, Jordan. One thing on that too to look at, he averaged almost 13 points, I think 8.5 rebounds, close to 1.5 blocks. He led Charlotte in rebounds, as I talked about earlier. He's 16 and 225 on guard skills, but he can also rebound a basketball at that size because he led Charlotte in rebounding. So that shows you that he can get physical and get dirty and go get rebounds, which is very encouraging. Number two, Charlotte played at one of the slowest paces in college basketball last season. They're the complete opposite of what Tennessee played at last year. So he didn't have a lot of possessions to rack up points. They slowed the game down. Like what Tennessee did 2 years ago by playing the game in the 50s and 60s, it's what Charlotte did this season. So there's a chance that if he had played in a higher tempo team, like for instance, you brought up K. Tyson earlier. Belmont was one of the fastest tempo teams in college basketball this past season. They got up and down the court. K. Tyson averaged about 16.5 points a game. Put Milicic on that team at 16 and 225 and shooting the ball at 38%. Let him get those possessions that K. Tyson was getting. What does Milicic average? Right?
Right.
He scored almost 13 in limited possession. So I think there's a chance that he can explode on the scene at Tennessee if Tennessee continues to run this high-tempo offensive style of basketball.
I hope, man, because, it'll be fun to watch him with Ricky Dale out there coaching him up. So, all right, boys, that being said, football portal news. Don't really have much on the Tennessee front, but Christian Conyer, he hit the portal this week, DB. I wonder if he was – somebody said it was a surprise. I'm kind of wondering if the staff wasn't just like, "Hey, man, you're one of the last ones that were here. Go on." What happened there? Do you know, Jordan?
He wants to play. It's basically what it comes down to, and he was going to be the 4th or 5th DB on the depth chart. He'd already been passed up by some of the newcomers that they brought into the portal. The Jamar McCoy kid from Oregon State, he's going to start. The Jalen McMurray kid they brought in from Temple is going to be your 3rd defensive back. So Ricky Gibson, Jamar McCoy, and Jalen McMurray will be your top 3 corners. Then you still had Jordan Matthews there. So it kind of looked like Christian Conyer was going to be that 4th or 5th DB. He wasn't going to play.
Right.
And he's a sophomore, going to do his sophomore season because he was a freshman this past year. So, he just wanted to go play. And, Louisville and Cincinnati seem to be the top 2 right now in there for him. So that's pretty much kind of what I got is the kid just he didn't want to sit. He didn't want to wait. He wanted to go play now. And now the way the rules are written that, he wants to go play so he can head out of town and go do that.
Good for him, though. I mean, you can't fault him for wanting to do better. Next one up on the list to talk about, though, Tyler Barron. He's back in the portal again. Where's this kid going to end up? Or is he going to what's he doing? First it was Ole Miss, then it was Louisville. Now where's he going to end up?
To give you the hint on where he's going to go is find the highest bidder because that's all he's looking for, money.
There, I can see that.
Yeah. He came to Tennessee every year at Tennessee. He tried to leave. He threatened to go in the portal. Not this spring, last spring he threatened to do it again. Tennessee came back with some more NIL money. This spring he wanted to do it again, and Tennessee wasn't going to do it again. Then he goes to Ole Miss, who was throwing all this money around apparently, and then Louisville offered him even more money. So then he goes to Louisville, and apparently Louisville's checks are bouncing. So now he's bouncing to go find some more money somewhere else.
It's the world we live in, right? Wesley Walker, also a former Tennessee player, back in the portal from Louisville again. I'm seeing something here though with these Louisville transfers, with our guys leaving from here to go to Louisville. Is there something there that we miss, or what's going on?
Well, Wesley Walker originally followed Barron to Ole Miss, and then they both went to Louisville. They're stepbrothers.
Okay, that makes sense. Then I can see that. Okay, so with all that, I think that I just kind of hit the high spots on the football portal side, but recruiting wise, who's some guys that we should be kind of on the lookout for?
David Sanders is a 5-star offensive tackle out of Charlotte, North Carolina. That Tennessee's all in. Tennessee feels like they're in a good spot right now. Looks like it could be between them and Clemson as the battle going for him. The 5-star quarterback that we have committed, George McIntyre, he's done a really, really good job of building relationships with other recruits in his class. So he's doing a lot of peer recruiting for Tennessee right now. David Sanders is one. Jalen Matthews, who's a 4-star offensive lineman, I think out of New Jersey, I think is where he's from.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Tennessee's in really, really good shape for him. I think he's supposed to make a decision I want to say the 20th of this month. Tennessee's in really solid shape there. Jamie French is a wide receiver that they're in on. I think he's a 5-star, a borderline 5-star wide receiver. That one's kind of one to watch and just see what happens there. They have the thing right now that it's encouraging with Tennessee compared to the past couple of years is they have a very big board and they're going after a lot of guys. The past couple of years, their problem was they would target 4 or 5 guys out of position. And then if they struck out on those guys, they really didn't, I don't want to say they didn't know where to go, but it was kind of like they had to refigure their board. This year, they've got a lot of names on their board and they're in on a lot of kids. Right now, I would, just looking at it early, I would say Tennessee should land a top 10 class the way it's currently trending. And it could be if they land the David Sanders kid, and let's say I think it's also Jamie French is either a 5-star or borderline 5-star, and I think Caleb Cunningham is another wide receiver who is a 5-star. If they land the David Sanders kid, then the Caleb Cunningham kid, or even the Jamie French kid, they won't let them both. They'll land one of those wide receivers. That could push this class to right at top 5.
I'll take it because I think we all know at this point the staff can develop them, unlike previous staff. So I'll take a top 10 class. Top 5 class would be phenomenal, though.
Yep.
So, all right, boys. Next up on the docket here, though, the Basevols, man. They swept Mizzou Thursday night, got a 10-1 win. AJ Causey got the dub, moved 7-3 on the season. 6 homers in that game, though, man. The bats were going. It's impressive to watch, man. When they're rolling like that, like it's just it's crazy. Only downfall to that game though. That was actually the 5th time that's happened this year, and Blake Burke's 31 game hit streak ended in that same game. So, you take them, you win some, you lose some. I'll take a 10-1 win. No doubt.
Swaney, do you keep up with the Baseballs?
Typically after basketball season's over. Most of my time is occupied with the NBA right now. Sports wise, but once we get especially into tournament play and all that, then I get heavily invested.
I'm the same way. Of course, I'm not as big into the NBA like as you are. I've been following a lot more over the past year than I have. But especially with college basketball going on, the baseball team's kind of on the back burner. And then right now with the portal stuff going on, they're still, for me, kind of on the back burner. But I try to tune in as much as I can. I watch as much as I can. And, the offense is up until the last 3 games. The offense has been elite. The bats have went cold for 3 straight games. So hopefully they can, break out of that slump. But looking up, they should be back in a super regional with a chance to make it back to Omaha again if they keep playing the way they're playing currently.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, the last 2 games they've won. Well, 2 of the last 3 games they won 3-2, and then Lipscomb up and got them last night 9-6. That surprised me when I seen it. I was like, what?
Yeah, it seems like we drop one of those a year. I think last year, it was Charlotte that got us, and then the year before that it was Tennessee Tech that got us. So it seems like at least once a year we'll drop one like that. And most college basketball programs do, right? Most of them do, because usually the midweek game that you're playing against a non-conference team, you're throwing your bullpen arms. You're not really throwing your ace pitcher. You're getting some of the younger guys in on the lineup to get them some work. That's the encouraging. I don't want to say the encouraging thing, but that's kind of the thing with college baseball. That a lot of the new fans that have come in since Tony Vitello's gotten here, they freak out when you lose to a Tennessee Tech or a Lipscomb because they don't understand that baseball programs, that like SEC top-notch baseball programs normally use that midweek game as like a scrimmage type situation to get some of the young guys in just to see what they can do. Other teams, Arkansas has, South Carolina has. Other teams have lost those midweek games throughout the week. Just keep doing what you're doing in conference play, and you'll be in great shape.
Right. So that was the weekend baseball there, pretty much, and then this weekend though, got to go down to Florida and play the Gators. So another big series. They're all big in the SEC though, right?
Well, Florida's got that Caglione. Am I saying his name right?
Nah, I'm not sure on that one. Jordan?
Yeah.
He's like the best player in the country, I think. Yeah. I don't know. That's how much I follow baseball. I know who he is though.
Yeah. The thing is Tennessee's 1 game back of leading the SEC. So, if you go down there and you take some from Florida, you're up against Kentucky, Arkansas, and Texas A&M, and they all have tough series left the rest of the way. So, this should be, I think, Tennessee's probably toughest series left. I think they play Florida, South Carolina, Vanderbilt. I think is their last 3 SEC series. I think 2 of those may be at home in Knoxville. So, Tennessee's right there with a chance to finish first in the SEC again. If they can continue to win some of these series, you go on the road. The saying kind of is when you're on the road, try to take 2 out of 3 in that home sweep. So if they can go to Florida and at least get 2 out of 3 and stay right there in the race, it'll be encouraging the rest of the way.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to tournament time though, man. That's whenever I kind of follow them throughout the year, and then whenever tournament time rolls around, I'm like, all right, Vols baseball's on. We got to watch it. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking real forward to seeing what we do this year in the tournament. But boys, I think we've about beat this dead horse, don't you guys?
Yeah. Hey, I'll add one thing real quick, or 2 things real quick. I don't know if you guys follow them or not, but I'll just throw them in here real quick. Lady Vols softball team's ranked number 3 in the country. They're really, really good. I think women's softball is amazing to watch. I think it may be the best women's sport, women's softball. It's awesome to watch.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah,
I will agree with that. Fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's fast paced too, man. Like
yes,
seeing them hum those fastballs in there, buddy, about 60 miles an hour. I mean, that don't sound like much, but that's what, like the equivalent to a 90-mile-an-hour fastball.
I saw Tennessee was playing Alabama. Yeah, Alabama this past weekend, and they were talking about our pitcher that with how fast she throws the softball compared because their mound is closer to the plate than Major League Baseball is. And they were saying that her fastball is the equivalent to like 101 mile an hour fastball in baseball. That's how fast it gets on the batters. They're number 3. They're leading the SEC standings. They play Kentucky this weekend, I think. They're 1 game up in the SEC standings, so they have a chance to clinch the SEC regular season championship again because they won it last year. They're the best pitching staff in softball, number 1 in the country. So there's a chance they can make it back to Omaha. Or not Omaha, but I can't even think where the Women's College World Series is.
Yeah,
I'm
out on that one.
Omaha too?
I don't think it's in Omaha. That's Oklahoma City, ain't it? I think it's Oklahoma City.
I think so.
I'm on it.
I think it's Oklahoma. So they have a legit chance to make it back. And then one last thing too. I know you want to get off here, but
no.
we haven't been able to discuss this, but I love the Lady Vol basketball hire. Love the Lady Vol basketball hire.
Yeah, that was a good hire. We talked about that a little while back. Me and Swanee did, and man, that was a good hire. Like Danny White don't miss often. Don't sound like, and I think he's going to with this one.
Yeah, Swanee, I don't know how much you keep up with it or with her or the hire they made, but I will tell you, and you guys may have talked about this, and if you have, I'm sorry, but she's the equivalent to me. I've compared this to the comparison I've made. She's the equivalent of when Tennessee hired Bruce Pearl in 2005. Mm-hmm. That's the style she plays. She like me. If you remember that style when Bruce Pearl first got to Tennessee, the up tempo pressing all the time, pressure defense, a lot of threes, up and down the court, high flying. That's what she plays. She presses the entire time. They shoot a ton of threes, a lot of threes. They push the ball up and down the floor. So I think there's a chance she could come in and make the same type of impact Bruce Pearl did almost 20 years ago with the Lady Vol basketball program because of the style she plays. I kind of followed her at Marshall this year because I knew how good she was in Division II, and she flipped Marshall around in 1 year and 1 season. Her first and lone season at Marshall was the best season in Marshall history of women's college basketball in 1 year. And she's crushing it in the portal right now too. She's added a couple girls out of the portal also. So I'm excited about what they can do, next season in women's college basketball because I think they can make a big time bounce back.
So what he's saying, Swanee, is next year we're going to have to watch women's basketball, buddy. That's what I'm gathering.
I've been watching it.
Well,
no, that's I've always been a Lady Vols supporter.
I have too.
They've been hard to watch over the last decade or so.
Yes.
But you were the first one to mention Kim Caldwell that I'm aware of, Jordan. You were tweeting about her 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Before we even knew Kelly Harper was going to be fired. You were talking about how she would be a good get for us. And so when it happened, naturally, read all I could about her and I'm excited.
Yeah, I said, if Tennessee didn't hire, somebody else will, and she's a star in the making. And now that she's at Tennessee, you can see her infectious personality. She's got an amazing personality. You can tell that she's going to relate to the girls or relate to the players. She's an outstanding coach. What I love with what she did, too, real quick, is she finished her assistant coaching staff. And what I love that she did this, because Josh Heupel kind of did the same thing when he got hired. She brought 2 people in from her Marshall staff that know her system, that can teach her system. But then what she also did is she went and got 2 experienced SEC coaches, assistant coaches, and brought them in to help her navigate the SEC, to help her with recruiting because they already have relationships. That's very, very smart. Not a lot of people do that. If we remember, kind of throw it back a little bit, when Butch Jones came in, Butch Jones brought all his people with him, right? And you look at Josh Heupel, what Josh Heupel did when Josh Heupel got hired, he brought his offensive staff with him to help teach his offensive system. But on the defensive side, he went and got all kinds of veteran SEC coaches to teach the defense. she's kind of done the same thing. She's brought in her two to teach their system, but then brought in experienced SEC coaches to help her navigate, like I said, the landscape of SEC and high Division I basketball, which is very, very smart on her part.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. Man, the guys, yeah, we've hit it all tonight. So I think you guys ready to call it quits on that one?
Sounds
anything
good.
else? Anything else anybody wants to add? Swanee, you got anything?
Have you guys hashed out like your? I know Jordan Mountcastle, you hate the Cowboys, but Jordan, you love the Cowboys. Have you guys ever discussed this at all?
Just a little bit. I kind of rubbed it in a little bit after the Packers beat them last year in the playoffs, but I didn't get obnoxious with it.
The biggest thing with me being a Cowboy fan, and I try to tell everybody this, I'm not one of those obnoxious, stupid Cowboy fans that thinks they're going to win the Super Bowl every single year. Like I feel like I'm way more realistic in what the Cowboys can achieve and can do. So,
and that's exactly why I didn't rub it in. I couldn't. If somebody's decent, I can't do it. So, if they are,
hey, the Packers seem like they got a quarterback.
Hey, buddy, I'm all about some J Love now. I was not in on him, but we'll see.
How the hell do the Packers keep doing that? How do they keep Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, to Jordan Love? In about 5 or 6 years, they're going to draft another quarterback to sit behind Jordan Love for 2 or 3 years, and then this guy's going to be like an All-Pro in like 20 years.
Somebody knows what they're doing, man. I don't know. So that's all. Either that or whoever scouts quarterbacks, I want them to buy me a lottery ticket.
Yeah,
just saying, because I mean that's what it seems like. They just know what they're doing. I mean, of course, it's still early in the J Love era, so who knows what'll happen. But I'm psyched to see what he can do this year. And we stacked up on offense a little bit. Got Josh Jacobs coming in. I was so hoping we were going to get Jalen Wright, though, man, because there was talk that, if you guys let him go past y'all, the Packers could get him. And I was like, yeah, there we go. That'd be a good one. But, it is what it is. We drafted like 7 defensive players. So, so be it. But, boys, this has been fun. This has been a lot of fun. We got to do this more often, for sure.
Yeah, guys, I had fun. I enjoyed it. Anytime my schedule allows me to hop on, I would love to hop on, and I'm always ready and willing to talk ball, especially Tennessee, anything Tennessee sports. So, it's like I tell you, my schedule is very, very hectic right now. I coach my boys' baseball team, so I get to run around with 5-year-old boys during baseball practice and baseball games, and so it's exhausting and tiring by the time you get home. But anytime I'm allowed to, jump on, I got some free time, I'd love to jump on with you guys and talk.
You're welcome on anytime, buddy. I know how that goes because it's like herding cats, buddy. I know.
Yeah,
like herding cats. So, well, boys, we'll end this one how we always do. Go Vols.
Go Vols.
Go Vols.